Hi, welcome back to Unmasked. By this point, things had already shifted. I was confused, on edge, starting to question myself. But this is the part that made it even harder to understand, because while everything was happening behind closed doors, he was still playing the good guy. And he played it well. If you met him, you wouldn't have questioned him. No one did. He was calm, charming, easy to talk to, the kind of person people describe as nice. And that word, nice, it carries weight. Because once someone is seen that way, it becomes their shield. It protects them, and it isolates you. Because the version of him that everyone else sees was completely different to the version I lived with. There were moments where he would switch completely, from being aggressive to being soft, from saying things that made me feel small to acting like nothing had happened, like it didn't exist, or worse, like I had imagined it. And he wouldn't do it loudly, he'd do it calmly, controlled, which makes you question yourself even more, because when someone is calm, you assume they're right. So I started to doubt my own memory. I'd replay things in my head, over and over, trying to work out, did that actually happen like I remember it? Did I take that the wrong way? Am I making this bigger than it is? And slowly, I stopped trusting my own instinct. That's how it works. Not by convincing everyone else you're wrong, but by convincing you. There were times where we'd be around other people, and he'd be laughing, smiling, being everything people expect a good guy to be. And I'd sit there, knowing what I had experienced, knowing what had happened behind closed doors, but watching a completely different version of him. And that disconnect, it messes with your head. Because you start thinking, how can both of these things be true? How can someone be that person and this person? And instead of questioning him, you question yourself. Because it's easier. It's easier to believe you're overreacting than to accept that someone can present themselves so well while doing something completely different in private. There were moments where he would twist things, take something he had done, and turn it into something I caused. And when you're already unsure, that lands, because you're looking for answers. And he gives you one, even if it's not the truth. That's the control. It doesn't always look like shouting. It doesn't always look like anger. Sometimes it looks calm, reasonable, convincing. And that's what makes it dangerous. Because now, it's not just about what he's doing. It's about how I started to see myself. I became quieter, more careful, more aware of everything I said, everything I did, trying not to trigger something, trying not to cause a reaction, trying not to be too much. And all the while, he still looked like the good guy to everyone else. That's what makes it so isolating, because you already know. If you try to explain it, what people will say. He seems really nice. I've never seen that side of him. Are you sure? And that doubt, it reinforces everything you're already feeling, so you stop explaining. You stop talking about it, you keep it to yourself, and you stay in it longer, because it's easier to question yourself than to try and prove something no one else can see. That's the good guy act. It's not just about how they look to the world, it's about how it traps you in silence, and once you're in that silence, it gets harder to get out. Next episode, I'm going to talk about the cycle, how it goes from good to bad and back again, and why that cycle is what keeps you there. Because by this point, I wasn't just confused, I felt completely alone in it.